waits, and Thompson scores! Masaba's in the middle, Wednesday here could seal it, Casimir finds Masaba!
Now Bannon with a great ball in, here's an opportunity, Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday!
We've had some of the wages paid, we've had players extending holidays, and the gaffer apparently told to cut his short. No new signings, no new contracts, £160 million bids rejected, and 400 Wednesdayites descending on a working men's club. Have I missed anything? Probably. Hello and welcome to Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. Happy Father's Day to all those dads out there. Socks, pants or slippers, or did anyone get a hat trick and get all three? Anyway, with me this week, as he always is Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, how's things, mate? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I'd like to echo that, James, about Happy Father's Day to everybody who's been forced to go out and do an activity that they don't want to do because your missus can't think of anything better to do. Happy Father's Day, all.
Lightwater Valley for me, and if anyone's been, it's not for mid-30s guy to go to. It's more for the kids. So
You mean it wasn't a sports bar with a nice cold beer and a screen for 12 hours?
Yeah, although saying that, what could you watch? The Club World Cup, and I mean that's watching Bayern Munich put 10 past a bunch of amateurs. Yeah,
that'd have been a very different podcast if it was a pint for every goal.
It would be. We'd be absolutely sloshed at this point. But no, I hope everyone has had a good Father's Day out there. Before we start, Matt, I got a message, didn't we, last week? I'll read it out. I got a message on X. It says, hi, Matt. That's first problem because you don't man the Twitter account. But anyway, hi, Matt. I've got a Pervader Wednesday match shirt, which is framed if you want it. I replied that it was me that manned the Twitter account. I told him that I'd pass the message on. I also asked how much he wanted for it as well. And he said, for nothing, as a gift. I saw the faith you had in him and the positive things you would say about him on X. I think it would be good for you to have it. Turns out it was Jan Pervader's agent that was messaging us, weren't it, Matt?
Honestly, James, it was one of the weirdest interactions that I've had in a long while, but I was so incredibly grateful because I still love that little Colombian man. I still absolutely love him. What a player. I know this is going to get a lot of belters. I would still have him back here in a heartbeat. Personally, I would still have him back here.
I can feel the pelters already coming in.
And for 10 games and 60 minutes at a time, what a player. Just so enjoyable. And I spoke about him quite at length last year. He's one of those players who gets you off the edge of your seat, and he is one of the reasons why you go and watch games. And we've referred back to it a number of times, like the Rotherham game away at the New York. He was unbelievable in that first half, kicked a bit, but unbelievable. And the one against Bristol City, he was outstanding for 45 minutes of that game. He's just such a talented player, and I am genuinely gutted to see what's happened to him again this year at Sunderland, and I just wish we'd have been able to strike a deal with him. But on the plus side, yeah, nice.
Those that are listening to the audio medium, just point out that in the background is said shirt from Jan Pervader, signed and everything as well, that was chucked in an Uber from London earlier on today, which again is just sounds sketchy as fuck, but it turned up at your house and there it is.
Yeah, I'm genuinely absolutely thrilled. I'm looking forward to explaining that for the rest of my life, or as long as I've got the shirt, about why I've got a shirt of a player who played 10 games for us and played 60 minutes like at a time. But yeah, I would hope, I will put it on record now, James, and say I would hope we see him in a Wednesday shirt again, because it was a joy to watch him play at times last year. And I do think he was, as Carl has already highlighted here, I think he was key for EK Ugbo as well in that season. The combination that the pair of them had with Masaba and Gassama interchanging on the other wing was just, it was exceptional. What a player.
I remember watching him at Rotherham away, and it was almost like they had 3 men on him, and that was still probably not enough. But they just couldn't put any more on him, to be fair, else it just got a bit ridiculous. It was that image of him as he sat on the advertising hoardings at
Millwall.
Yeah, that's a good image there.
Yeah. Easy to tame lions was the caption as well. My God, what a player, man.
Yeah, the streets won't forget, I think, is what you'll say on that one. In years to come, you'll go, you remember that Jan Paveda? Oh, yeah, I forgot about him. And then, you'll be able to talk about it. Before we get underway, there's loads of people in the comments, as always. We've got Alex, we've got Daz, we've got Dan, we've got Carl, we've got Barry as well, Douglas, loads of people. Do get all your comments in, and I'll read as many out as I possibly can. If you're on YouTube, just subscribe as well. It's always helps. As always, there's lots to talk about. It's Sheffield Wednesday. There is never ever a dull moment. We're going to be talking about the news that the wages are paid. Well, kind of. But I find it mad that is even news. I think we said this last time as well. Company pays staff wages and it becomes breaking headline news. But yeah, we're also going to be reacting to the article that Alex Miller posted on the anonymous intermediary. It kind of bears all about what it's like to deal with Mr. Dejphon Chansiri, as well as our reaction to that Trust Fans Forum that obviously took place last Wednesday. If you do want more, then you can sign up to Patreon. I mean, more. It seems like there's been a pod every single day for the past, 2 or 3 weeks. But we are going to be recording extra time straight after this, and you can watch it live if you are a member. Patreon.com/WTID pod is where you need to go. Go on, Matt.
Can I just also say, James, we're recording with Shay as well from Shay's Triathlon. I know we previewed that on last week's show, saying we were trying to fit it in the recording, but I've had some quite personal issues come up this week with my wife's side of the family, so that had to be pushed back. But we're recording Monday, 8 o'clock as well. That will be going out live as well for everybody.
Yeah, it's all scheduled and everything, so you can find it on the YouTube channel. Tomorrow if you're listening to this live. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock. But yeah, we're on extra time this evening. We're going to be talking about the prospect of us maybe even losing a club legend if things don't change quite rapidly. I hope we don't, but we definitely could. It is certainly on the horizon. So yeah, you've got that to look forward to if you do want more content from us. And let's start for the non-news story then of wages, which shouldn't be talked about at all, but seemingly we've just talked about it every day for the past God knows how long. It feels like an absolute age. I mean, it was announced not by the club, but by Joe Cran at the Star, that the wages for the staff have been paid, which, let's be honest, is the most important. It's important that players are paid, but, I don't think they're going to have mortgage issues and things like that. So I'm delighted that the staff are paid, and hopefully we're not in the same situation in 2 weeks' time. Yep. But yeah, I suppose, Matt, whilst it's good that it's like this saga's seemingly over, it throws up a few questions, doesn't it, really? One, kind of, how much money has he secured? Where has it come from? And also, kind of, will we be in this situation in a couple of weeks' time or not? I know we're not really going to know the answer to those questions, but I hope that the staff have been given assurances that we won't be here again, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
it's it's just so. I mean, it's getting to the point, James, of what more can we say? Like, it is like, and that, I know that comes as no consolation to anybody who is listening, or in particular anybody who obviously is in the situation of being with outstanding wages or has had late payments. There is, we've gone through the angry stages of it. We've gone through the shock and the disbelief of it. We're now into this window here where we're sort of looking at it and going, well, you got 2 weeks to find not only the wages, but you've also got to pay the tax bill as well. Which of the two is going to be a more pressing issue? Because that is really seriously the kind of thing that we're talking about here now. From a humanitarian standpoint, you pay the people who work at the football club. There's no ifs or buts about that. You pay the people who work at the football club. We've already got embargoes. We're going to come on to touch about kind of like embargoes or kind of like signing bans or anything like that we've also allegedly been placed under. So those are there. It doesn't really matter at that point. You pay the people who are keeping the club running day to day. They're keeping the lights on. You pay the players if you are able to, because I know we're going to come on to talk about, like those in a bit more detail here. My theory is that he pays the tax bill. That's my theory. And I cannot believe I'm saying my theory is he pays a tax bill over people. Like, that is how brassic this man is.
I suppose, when I said, how much money has he secured, I suppose I can answer my own question by the fact that he hasn't paid all the players yet. So clearly he hasn't secured enough money, or enough money hasn't come in yet to satisfy even last month's wages in its entirety. So clearly he's either waiting on something else, or he's wanting something else to drop, or I've no idea what he's trying to do. But it's a good point you make there about kind of, we've already hit the 30-day limit already. It's like when you go out for a few beers and you say I'll be back at 7, and you look at your watch and you go, fucking, it's 8 o'clock already.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna get told off anyway, so I might as well stay for a few more. It's like that, and it really it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know what the additional sanctions are. I think the 14 days runs out on Tuesday, so we'll find out kind of what I suppose we'll find out at that point whether it is the transfer ban, transfer fee ban that's obviously been reported, 3 transfer window ban, but we'll find out if anything else comes of it at all, or anything like that. But I don't know what the next step is really from the EFL. We've already gone past the fines and things like that already, and triggered the worst possible sanctions. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, there's been talk that it's the Cadamarteri Man City money that's coming. I'm not sure if that money will have landed already or not, but there is a little bit of money there, isn't there?
Yeah, that would make an awful lot of sense once the I's and T's have been dotted and crossed, respectively, in terms of that, because the news coming out of Hillsborough is that the players been allowed to go off and talk. Perhaps the two clubs have agreed a fee, and the young lad's been able to go and talk to them. But I understand that he's on holiday at the minute. I say holiday; they're doing training camps, him and his brother, in Dubai at the minute. I don't think that's a footballer's holiday, innit? Like, I want to just to be clear here, James. I know I sent it in our Discord earlier. I want to see my footballers on like a Ross Barkley holiday. Who, for anybody who hasn't seen the footage of Ross Barkley at East End Dubs, please search it out on X. It is unreal. He is off his chops at that event.
Struggling to open a can of Red Bull as well, by the looks of things. Yeah.
I think struggling to breathe, see everything at that point. He is in a world of trouble at that point. We've all been there, rooms spinning, everything's moving a bit too fast, and you're thinking...
Yeah, blinkers are on, your vision's narrowing, you're just focusing on one thing, and everything else is happening right around you, and you don't give a shit. You're just like, I will open this can of Red Bull.
These ring tops coming off. He's coming off. But yeah, if that is the money, nicest will in the world, it's not enough. It's not going to cover all the bases, and it might cover all the bases to get you through this month. But then where? Then what do you do?
That's it, innit?
Do you sell Josh Windass because Josh Windass has re-signed a new deal? Do you cash in on him because I think the player has made it no? I know there's a lot of cryptic messages that come out surrounding Josh Windass, whether it's from him, whether it's from Helen France, whether it's from a couple of other people surrounding X, and you can never really tell what Josh Windass is actually thinking. But I think it's fairly telling based off the end of the season where he saw his future.
But the thing is, that you get to that situation where, I mean, thankfully I've never been in this one, but you see other people where they're having to sell things that they've got, the prized possessions, because something's happened, they've lost a job or whatever, or whatever it may be, and they're getting rid of all these things, and they're kind of almost starting again. And then what happens is they get a new job, and then they start up. Whereas at the moment, it's almost like Chansiri's getting rid of it. Well, we're talking about him potentially getting rid of everything, selling this player, selling that player, as you've just mentioned. But then what? Like, all you're doing, you're not. Nothing's coming in, other than just some transfer funds. We all know that he has to bankroll the club. We're probably kind of 2, 3, 4 years away from if he changed his ways, which I know he's not going to do, but if he did, we're a number of years away from seeing the fruition of that, if you know what I mean. Signing the youngsters to then sell them on. You're not just going to do that. I mean, first of all, you've got to bring them in. Secondly, then you've got to sell them. So that's not going to happen overnight. And obviously it doesn't happen with every single player either. So, where is the money coming in? We don't know anything about his businesses. It's not like all of a sudden his businesses are now fruitful and they're bringing in loads of money. Like, he hasn't got any money. He's like, he's literally beg, borrowing and stealing. So really, I just don't see how we progress with him. Like, I don't see where we go other than down. Like, as in, like, just for the club's just going to be in a bit of a free fall. The players that we're going to bring in are going to be below par. Certainly worse than the players that we've kind of let go, and those weren't great either. I just, it is a bit of a mess at the moment. I can see there's a few comments that you've
Sorry, James, I'm just highlighting this one here, basically, just going off the conversation that you were having there, which is from Owlsman. Good to see you in, mate. I fear DC will sell the likes of Gassama and Pierce Charles to continue to own the club and pay the bills. And whilst I am not against selling Jenny Gassama or Pierce Charles, if we were run well, because those are your two biggest assets at this point in time, they would give you a large amount of capital to go out and reinvest into a squad. That is, in theory, what you'd do. Every 2 years, you do what Peterborough do, because they're very public in the way in that they do business. Yeah. It gets the end of a season, they go, here are the players that we're keeping, here are the players that are transfer listed.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have a problem with it if I knew that this was going to be a complete and utter sea shift and it was going to allow us to build a squad. But what's the point in selling them when you can't go out anyway because you're under an embargo? Like, what's the point? Like,
it's just going to make next season even worse than it's ever going to be, and it's already going to be bad.
You can't do anything with the money anyway, so no, I wouldn't be selling anybody in this window. The second one, which again, just on that point that you were elaborating on there about Dejphon Chansiri and the idea that he's not going to change, even for the most staunch of Chansiri defenders at this point in time, which there are still a few, you can still find a few. They've conceded on certain matters, but there are some who still support him. You've got evidence that he isn't going to change because this has happened to us before under DC. And when you were talking about, I don't know what the next stage is, I'm fairly confident in I do. It's going to be a points deduction, which is going to be your next one. If you continue to do that, it happened at Reading, it will happen here. If the football club is continued to be running the same way, which for a season where we're already kind of thinking, it's not going to be great, this. Like, we're going to be lucky to finish fourth bottom here with kind of like the squad depth wasn't good enough last year. It's definitely not going to be good enough this year. That was with a manager who had just signed a 3-year deal and a coaching staff behind him who wanted to stay. You've now ripped all the guts out of that as well. So it's not going to change. It's not going to get any better. Apologies, everybody, but we have got bigger issues at the minute rather than just thinking about, can we stay in this division? And I know that doesn't make happy viewing for everybody going every Saturday up and down the country or going to Hillsborough. It doesn't. But ultimately, Natalie is the one that's pulled this up, which I'm really pleased, Natalie, that you come in and give us this sound financial advice week in, week out. So thank you very much for your contribution again.
I'll give you DC's email address. You can give him some sound financial advice as well. I think he's in dire need of that right now.
Yeah, he doesn't know what bills are coming up. He's got no idea what direct debits are coming out. It's this. It's not only one. It's three. It's three tax bills that he's got this month alongside player wages. So when we go back to that point at the top that you were making, James, where if it is the Keelan Cole Kadamatri money, it's not enough. It's not going to cover all this. Like, it's just, like, simply it's not.
Well, you only pay tax on wages if you pay the wages in the first place. So I suppose he's got around that one. And at least that bill's going to be a little bit less at the moment because you haven't paid him yet. So,
well, the other one is as well, which I can't remember who commented underneath. It was Joe Cran's original post, and then I think it was Joe again who confirmed this, that, and this is a really sorry state of affairs, you can get around further sanctions by paying some of the players. Now, please don't quote me on that. There would have to be some more digging into it done surrounding that. And I am just going off a quote that I saw in all of the mess of stuff that was coming out last week on the daily updates that journalists, yourself, everybody was doing surrounding kind of like player wages. But I do think that there is a justification that you can maybe pay players rather than staff, or you can divert money here, there and everywhere. To kind of get around. There will be loopholes everywhere. As we know, Chansiri likes to try and find a loophole if he can. He's got 2 weeks to come up with not only this month's money, but also next. Then where'd you go? It's not coming from season ticket money because, as Thomas Peters has pointed out on X, for anybody who's following Thomas, we're not making a lot of season ticket sales week on week. I think it was something like 9 the week before.
Yes, so, he's made what is it made there? About $4,500.
That I mean, that's not really going to cover mountains. It's a really dire situation. And again, he's got a bit of respite at the minute because we're in the middle of the month. But you wait until payday rolls around. We'll be back here again.
And it's not even 4 weeks, it's 2 weeks because we're already halfway through the month. Alex has said Chansiri is trying to plug leaks with gaffer tape. A bit like me with that hot tub that I had trying to plug them leaks because that weren't...
How's the hole in the garden, by the way? I haven't asked for a week.
It's still a hole. we'll just gloss over that. We'll not touch that subject because I have enough from the wife. So we'll anyway moving swiftly
Just
on.
before we do, James, here I've just highlighted this one for Stannington, so I can answer this. Which is there a players' union? Yes, there is. The PFA, the Players Football Association Union, which is
they put a statement out, didn't they?
Yes,
last week or in the week, should I say?
They put a statement out in the week saying they're monitoring the situation very carefully and that they're very worried about everything, which I'm thinking, a little bit too late here, boys. I'd be fucking fuming if you were my union. But yeah, again, they are hamstrung, similar to what was discussed after the fans forum, which obviously we're going to come on to talk about through James and the financial aspect on there. Everybody's a bit hamstrung by the rules that are written. And I think the most telling thing from that was that the rules are written by club owners. Do you think they're really going to write rules that are going to completely and utterly annihilate them? Of course they're not. That's why football regulators been brought in. Yeah.
Now, moving on slightly, Chansiri is very, very hard to deal with.
Sorry, James. Fucking hell. News.
No, the thing is now, Matt, we've been saying it a long, long time, but now other people are coming out and saying that, not just fans. These other people, we'll get onto it in a bit, but these John Newsom came out on Wednesday and said that. We've got the guy that spoke to Alex Miller, was it Mr. Smith? What's his name?
Sure.
He's come out and said it as well. But yeah, we knew that for the past 10 years, really. We always knew it was very difficult to deal with. But yeah, he doesn't sell players. He's always had a falling out with the manager. The fact everyone he's worked with seems to have left him. Yeah, it's nothing new, is it? But he's better. He's good now that more and more people are talking about it and ramming that point home now. And it's, I think that's the reason why we are where we are at the moment in terms of we haven't sold or we haven't even got past. We haven't even had negotiations. When you talk about the two Florida consortium bids, they were bids that were just battered straight back as a no, not a come back with this figure and we'll have a talk, or let's juggle the numbers around and let's try and get somewhere close. It's just a no. Yeah. So, I mean, how we're gonna move forward? Like this, but people are just choosing not to deal with Sheffield Wednesday as a football club in any manner of business, whether that's player sales or sponsorships or anything.
Yeah. How do you have any sort of a relationship? Because my takeaway from that article, James, was a question that I've got for you. What benefit does he get from behaving in this manner, especially when you need the help? What is the benefit? I don't understand.
It's like it's a game, like some sort of. It's like in a different world, and he can just hit that power button and just turn it off, or it's like he's had a dream and then he's just suddenly just thought it were reality, and he's just kind of play. I don't know. It's like it's a toy to him, or I don't know. I don't think he realizes the severity of these decisions that he's making, because he's getting. Before it was maybe a bit of a laugh. You know what I mean? He got all this money. It's all right. It's fine. We're now talking to a point where the club could just be blown to smithereens. We could have. We could really be having to start again. We were lucky last season that we had, a relatively half decent squad. Yep. A manager that could get a tune out of those players as well, and we managed to get enough points to get us to where we were. Take some of those things away. Take the manager away. I think he's staying, but take him away. Take Barry Bannon away. Take Shea Charles away, which he's already gone. So remove some of these key elements, and we could be. We are going to be in real trouble next season.
Yeah, and I think going back to that idea of kind of like it's a game, and I know Simon spoke very passionately on our pod, and also he spoke very passionately at the fans forum this week about Mr. Chansiri not being sort of a bad person, and there's been a number of stuff there's been stuff where whoever you speak to who has dealt with him on like a human basis, they've all said kind of like, like an in-person basis where it's just two people rather than kind of like a crowd and a room full of people, because I do think he puts on a show in that. They have said that actually he's not necessarily the monster that he comes across as. But I suppose when it comes to business, or you're fronting up as a chairman of a football club in front of, say, 5 fans or 500 fans, there is an argument to say that from a position of strength, which he has previously been in, like, so for argument's sake, you have enough money to keep the football club just the lights on, which he has been doing for the past year. This is fine, because there are lots of people who operate in business of it's straight down the line, it's black and white, this is it. You either bend to my terms or you don't. Okay, that's one way of doing it. But what is the benefit now when you need the help? That is when majority of people would be flexible, would bend, would change. I'm not talking about like the behaviours of him going off like a petulant child, blaming fans for this, or blaming players or managers or Darren Moore or whoever, or Leighton Palmer for all the things that have been said. I'm talking about this behaving in this nature of an extremely hard-nosed businessman to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't understand at this point in time what benefit that has to anybody, unless you physically can't sell the football club because of where you've borrowed money from. I just simply don't understand it. If you've borrowed it from, let's say, a bank or a lender or wherever, or you've taken the money out of your other businesses and put it into Sheffield Wednesday, you do have to come to that. I think it was Simon had mentioned something at the Fans Forum, which I did think was actually, it struck a chord with me about that realization, that psychological realization of, oh shit. Like, yeah. I know Simon is a very divisive figure, and I happen to like him. I happen to, I trust what he says in terms of obviously the content that he comes out with and obviously the conversations that you have, because he's given me no reason to doubt. However, that was something that I did think that has struck a chord with me, because I've never been in that position, because that's not my line of work. I've not been completely dependent on these vast sums of money kind of being transferred, or I've not put myself, that's not my line of work. So I've never come across that, but that psychological barrier is, I suppose it's a bit like the people that bet, and then they've lost 100. So they just think, if I put another 100 in, like, I can win that back, and then they lose that. And then there's a line, isn't there, where you have to stop, but then some people do cross that line, and then they've not realised what that's, it's just numbers on a screen, and they don't realise what that effect's gonna have, and whether that's like it with him. He's lost this much money. Maybe he thought that last season, and to be fair, like, I even said last season was probably going to be the one where, I've got a great manager. Let's just put every single pound note into this squad that I can possibly afford. And you never know, you might just get there. And I do believe if we had a little bit more money, like if we had 2, 3, 4, 5 million pounds to spend in January, we probably, it wouldn't have taken.
We might have got there. Do you know what I mean?
It wouldn't have taken much.
And then you just put your hand up and go, we got to playoffs, we got smashed. Bit like Bristol City perhaps would have, or did, and then you go, the club is going to be now. Maybe the club might then be worth, £100 million. Do you know what I mean? Like, like it might be, because you've shown that you've got something in place that can actually, with a little bit more help, could probably get there. But that never happened, did it? And now we're just in. The opposite's totally happened, and we're in a bit of a mess. Before we move on to that Alex Miller interview, there's another. It was in the Sun, so I'm not going to say that this definitely happened. I think I've probably got more credibility than what the Sun at times. But apparently, Dejphon's told Danny that he needs to return back from his annual leave early or face a fine. I mean, that can't be true, surely. What's he going to fine him? His wages?
Fuck off would be I would have just put that phone on do not disturb for another 2 weeks and gone back to enjoying the holiday with my kids and my family. Because at this point in time, I have done a complete sea change here, James, and I'll hold my hands up because, loads of people won't do it. I saw no way back to this football club for the manager. I think it was plainly obvious, and I still firmly believe this, that it was plainly obvious that the manager had laid out his plans. The chairman couldn't meet those demands, so he decided that he wanted to leave. I think that was plainly obvious from about 7 games remaining from the season that he saw his future elsewhere from the football club. But there has been an awful lot that has happened in that time.
There's bigger problems in the asset, I guess.
100%. And at this point now, that manager, as bad as this is, because I'm also, I think there's going to come a point, James, and we've touched on it a little bit, but there is 100% going to come a point where we have to have a very honest conversation about the manager's antics over this summer. And that'll be for a couple of weeks' time when we know whether he is here, placed on gardening leave, whatever.
Because it could be about 2 weeks when we find out whether he's turned up for training or not. Like that could be the litmus test. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's, you know, like Cifuentes is still on gardening leave from QPR. Like, just to give you some context for that. So I now firmly believe that this manager, the chairman, is going to cling on to him because he is an asset. Because even if he isn't publicly coming out and saying the club is up for sale or, you know, entertaining bids, if you know in the back of your mind that there is going to come a point within the next couple of weeks, months, year that you need to sell, it's not without that manager. Because that manager's a huge asset to you. Huge asset to you. One of the arguably the biggest selling point that this club has got at this point in time, next to the potential revenue that could be gleaned. That is total fucking lunacy, however, telling him to cut a 2-week holiday short, pretending that nothing's happened. But that is just bonkers.
I'm just thinking as well. Yeah, I'm just thinking as well, who's gonna have leaked that information? Because surely that's just a text message from the chairman to the manager or a phone call. So I mean, the chairman ain't gonna, unless he's been speaking to him on LinkedIn or something. I have no idea. It's either the chairman or it's Danny like saying it. I don't know. Danny's got loose lips, you know. So potentially he could have told someone maybe, but yeah, like that just it doesn't sound right. And like I said, I'd be just saying to him, like, what are you gonna find me with those wages that you haven't paid me for you know for the
last 3 months and the incoming third month. It's just
you just say, what are you gonna do? Sack me?
Yeah,
because ultimately that's kind of what he wants, doesn't he? He wants to be sacked.
100%, because that is the position that the chairman has driven this football club into. Yeah. And regardless of how you feel about the manager, how you feel he's acted, how you feel whether you feel he's like tarted himself around or his agents advertised him around, the only reason we are in this situation, the only reason is the bloke at the top. He is the only person who has put us into this situation. And I agree, as you said there, James, I don't know how anyone can slate roll. The job has been made impossible, and I agree entirely. His job has been same as we said, you know, same as you guys when with the previous iterations of this pod spoke about Darren Moore, as we spoke about with previous managers as a fan base. You are managing this football club with one hand tied behind your back constantly while this chairman is in charge, because you must be going in every single day thinking, I don't know what fucking shit is going to be pulled here that is going to leave me completely hamstrung in the situation that I'm in now. I firmly am of the belief, and I don't want to get too tied up in this, James, but like this time last summer, he will have been promised an awful lot to keep him here. Why otherwise would you sign a 3-year deal? I personally believe, and I have no evidence to suggest this is the truth, I firmly believe a lot of those promises will have been broken within that first 6 weeks of that transfer window. They'll have been broken, and the manager will have been thinking in the back of his head, I'm not letting that happen to me again.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because he gives with one hand, he takes with the other, you know, because we get Shea Charles. I'm sure he cost a fair penny, you know, in terms of wages and then the loan fee and stuff like that. You know, he gives money for Ike Ugbo, but you can tell that was kind of a stressed purchase just with how long it took. It didn't need to take that long. And you could argue that that's been at the detriment to Ike Ugbo last season, and he's been as shitty as he was because he didn't have a proper pre-season and everything else. But
also, James, I mean this nicely, and again, I'm not just saying it because the shirt's behind me. Ike Ugbo's form coincided with a player like Jan Poveda, a creative player who slowed things down and just cut the ball back into those areas. So it made Ike Ugbo's job really easy, and scoring goals is the hardest job in football. Standing between the posts, come off your centre halves and tap them in. And that was how Ike Ugbo scored a load of his goals, from those little cutbacks, because he knew what wingers were going to do. The minute we had 2 flying wingers, 3 in Olaf Kabatsky, Josh Windass, I know he's a central defensive midfielder now, but like with those kind of wide players, we're playing differently. Ike Ugbo needed the preseason. He didn't get it. He then didn't have a player who was realistically capable of playing to his strengths that we saw the previous season, because we did have the purple patch for Ike Ugbo coincided with the man shirt behind me's form going through the roof as well. I just think it's what I mean, again, like everything else, James, what a mess. What a catastrophic mess.
Yeah, before I just move on to this interview that Ike Miller did, Dave's just said on YouTube, I know Adam Shaw Consortium has been rumoured to have offered to pay wages within the offer. Could he talk to Danny Rail and say, you're our man if we can get this through? My understanding was that, what's his name?
John Flanagan.
John Flanagan said that to Radio Sheffield. He said that they had spoken to Danny Rail and he was in their plans if they were to come in. So yeah, Dave, like that can happen, and it's come out and they've said that that's what would have happened as well. Let's move on to this this interview with Alex Miller then, and Mr. Smith, as he called him, some anonymous UK-based businessman who was acting as some sort of intermediary between another consortium and that's looking to, certainly interested anyway in looking to buy Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. Go and have a read of it if you haven't already read it. It's quite lengthy, but there's a few things in there. A couple of takeaways from the article. The first glaring one, which I think a lot of people have latched onto, including myself, hence why the name of this podcast. He's rejected a bid of 160 million. Now, I want to stress, a few people have got the wrong end of the stick here. He hasn't recently been offered £160 million. He was saying that in the past, he has had bids of 160 million. Like I said earlier, he's had a dream. He thought it were real.
Sorry, James. Could I just interject here and quote, because you've just said he's claiming that in the past he's had it. He's never fucking had 160 million pound offer for this. Absolutely no way. James, do you know what? I've just had a £750,000 offer for my house.
Have you?
Tell me I'm wrong.
It's your word against mine, mate.
Bollocks.
Like, yeah, honestly. Like, I think it's a load of bollocks. I mean, when do you think, when were we worth the most? Like, when would you say that would have been? It's easy to say.
1992.
Sorry, under Chansiri's reign, I meant, yeah.
About a day after he bought us out. No, really seriously, it would have been when we got to Wembley. And even then.
But you're not going to go from 40, like, he bought us for 40 million, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did he buy us?
35, 40, something like that, yeah.
Whatever, 30 to 40 million. You're not going to, like, 4x just in one season just because you got to the, within 90 minutes from the playoffs. Like, you might be 100, like, maybe.
Remember also football finances at that time were not what they are now. Yeah. I think you could have honestly gone out and made 15, 20 million at a push if you were a hard-nosed bargainer there. Like, you could have gone out and made 55, 60 million at an absolute stretch, but that 60 million would have been spread out incrementally.
Because he'd done nothing, has he, really? He'd brought a manager in, or a coach, head coach. He'd signed a lot of kind of aging players, all right, some decent ones. He'd not done any... Had he put a Deso pitch in? Like, whoop-de-doo. Like, he put a new pitch in, a new scoreboard in the ground. Or did that come a little bit later? I want to say that came slightly. Was it there? Anyway, he'd done a few things. He'd not exactly like, built a new training ground, added a new stand, and done all these wonderful things that would have added on, X amount of millions of pounds on top of it. So, like, yeah. To say that he'd had bids of 160 or a bid of 160 million, that he turned it down as well. Let's just say it's true for a second. He turned the fucker down. Like, who in the right mind does that?
Well, you've trebled 4 times your money. Like nobody, like even the most insane person, like genuinely, even the most insane person, the most habitual gambler in terms of the business sense, doesn't turn that down. Like, they go, fucking hell,
Go and buy another one.
Yeah, that's a huge profit. I'm just going to walk away from this shit. Yeah, have it, boys. Absolutely have it. I'm just pulling this comment up while we're just in the middle of this discussion here, James, and it's from Matt Thomas. Hiya, Matt. Good to see you again. Some people have assessed over if the bid was real or not and missed the important part that Chansiri has the figure of 140 to 160 million in his head. And that's the lunacy element of it, because that, I think, is the reason why he's mentioned this 160 million. Because if you say this publicly, if you come out and this comes out in an interview, like through an anonymous third-party source, it sets expectations of where the bargaining is. Now, we have heard this to be fairly true in terms of this valuation and this being something that Chansiri has parroted out. Different guises, we've heard that there have been offers from Qatar or, like Dubai or Emirates or wherever, and they all circle around this 140 to 160 million mark. Now, isn't that interesting that that's the exact amount that the chairman's put into this football club by Kieran Maguire, football finance expert? There is no way this football club is sold for more, in my opinion, than 70 to 80 million pound. And it's not worth that. It's not worth 70 to 80 million pound. There is stuff that we'll come on to talk about kind of, tailwind investments and all the rest of it. 70 to 80 million pound is the absolute utmost market value. And there is no way, as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, lifelong Sheffield Wednesday fan, bleeds blue and white for this football club. If I had the position and I was in that position to be able to buy the football club, there is no way I am giving all that money up front either. Absolutely no way. So please, for everybody going, they haven't got the money. If they had the money, they'd just pay it up front. That is fucking lunacy to pay that up front.
Yeah, like I say, it's just not worth it. I mean, the other takeaway is that there is other parties certainly interested. We've heard that being said, but nothing's kind of come out as being concrete. We're all hanging his hat on Mr. Walmart. We're all, thinking Turkey Al Sheikh was also going to be that person, but they were like literally just rumours and just that. There's a little bit of evidence here that there is actually someone else that certainly, I'm going to say dip the toe in the water. I don't think they got that far, but they've thought about it anyway and thought, let's see if this is something that could happen. But again, going back to kind of how difficult it is, there's only one way that you're going to purchase this football club, and it is if you've got a vested interest in Sheffield Wednesday. We've said it many a times. I think Simon said it as well, and it's true. Like, you wouldn't carry on it being this difficult and this batshit crazy if you weren't a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Because again, as I just said there about you sell the club and then you buy another one. Like, I didn't hear. I've never heard Mr. Walmart going, you know what? I've always wanted to buy Sheffield Wednesday. Like, he's not done a Steve Bruce, has he, and come out and said that he's, I've been waiting for this opportunity all my life, and I'm going to plough all my personal wealth into this football club. Like, you haven't heard that. So all these other people out there that are just businessmen looking for an opportunity to get into football. Well, let's be right, that's what they are. Chansiri can tell us that he loves Sheffield Wednesday until he's blue in face, but he's only been here 10 years. Do you know what I mean? And just
because you've invested, I agree with you, James, just about that point up. Just because you've invested money doesn't mean you love something.
Exactly.
Just because you've chucked in a lot of money, it doesn't mean you love something. Just because you've invested more than, say, for argument's sake, on a financial piece of paper, just because you've put more money into something doesn't mean you love it any more than the next person.
He can love the club without being the chairman as well, by the way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot of football fans that coming up to this next season love the football club, but they haven't got a season ticket.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so you don't need to do both. Like, it can love the football club and sell it as well, and continue to be a fan. Dejphon, if you want to be a fan of Sheffield Wednesday from Thailand, be my guest. Like he's absolutely fine. You can do that, but you don't need to also be the chairman and the owner and run us into the ground like you are doing at the moment.
But in terms of loyalty points as well.
Yeah, but I suppose you have to take there's a little bit of positive to take out that there is someone else that's actually interested, but he's banging your head against a brick wall because it's never going to happen with that clown.
No, I agree with you, James, and there is going to be interest. We know there's going to be interest in this football club. Every single person me and you have spoken to on this podcast had said there is going to be loads of interest. Who hasn't got a vested interest in Sheffield Wednesday has said, yeah, there is going to be loads of interest. You do the preview show every single week. People are always saying to you on that preview show, which you can catch on Discord, please sign up to Patreon. When you're looking at that, every single one of them goes, someone just needs to buy you. There'll be loads of people who want to buy you. Kieran Maguire sat on here the other week and said it. Yes, there is a massive opportunity for the club, and on the surface, it does present this huge opportunity. Interest and tangible bids, however, as you rightly say, James, are two different things. And as a staunch desire to blindly carry on and pursue, regardless of how you're spoken to, dealt with, treated publicly by fans, by everybody, that is a completely different thing as well. Because this article also said we were put off by not only the chairman, but everything else that's kind of swirling around the football club as well. Because we learned of kind of like the fear of wanting to come out and actually say that who they are. Because realistically, this consortium at this point in time, or this third-party person who's trying to introduce the football club to his prospective buyers, has said, no, I want to remain anonymous. Why? Because of the public negativity attached to the bid. There is only one group who have said, do you know what? Everybody's talking about one of our names. We might as well chuck somebody else out there now as well. And there's
but they haven't released all the other names either for this exact reason. Because what's the first thing people do? Oh, wait a minute. Let's have a look on Companies House. Yeah. Let's have a look on Google. Let's have a look on Forbes. Let's have a look 100%. On wherever. Let's have a look if they've had what's internet saying about them. Oh, wait a minute. Let's look on Trustpilot. People looking everywhere, looking on chuffing Airbnb if they wanted to. Honestly, what's
his TripAdvisor rating saying?
But he's 4-star. Jenny gave him a 2-star review in his hotel. It's terrible.
Photos of just beans on the wall, that Peter Kay, when we arrived. But it is that. And this is something that has been coming, and this only breeds out of a toxic situation. But let's have a very honest conversation here. At this point in time, the fan base is hard, opinionated, and skeptical of any and everything. We race to negativity rather than positivity. And this is, I would argue, not just because of the toxic situation that we are in currently, but this is the hallmarks and traits of any quote-unquote big club. You look at Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, all of them, all of their fan bases are this divided on every single thing. If you want a laugh, just dip into Arsenal Twitter. Just dip into Arsenal X. Oh my God, the level of negativity about signings who they're never going to sign is off the scale, and it will make your head swim. But any owner who is planning to come into this football club better have some broad shoulders to take this on. Because the same as a football player or a manager, if you do not have them broad shoulders, we will chew you up and spit you out. And we have been saying that for the past year, James, me and you. That is the nature of this football club. Why? Because of the size of this football club. And it's not an excuse, because if you get it right here, all of that flips on its head. And John Newsom said it on Wednesday night far better than I could ever. If it's right here, there is nowhere better to be.
Well, look at Danny Röhl. He's a prime example. I mean, it's also how quickly it can turn as well. Certainly, we haven't seen him yet since all this has come out. So let's just wait until, if he is in the dugout for the first game of the season, let's see what the atmosphere is like there. But, George Byers is another one, fans absolutely adore him. Barry Bannon, another one. Everyone, obviously fantastic footballer, showing his, showing his loyalty to us and everything else. We absolutely adore him. So yeah, when everyone's singing Barry Bannon's name at Hillsborough, it's absolutely rocking. But yeah, it can also go the opposite way as well. And there's a lot of players, Joey Pellier-Pesce to name one, Morgan Fox another one. Their life must have been absolute hell at Sheffield Wednesday. You've got on one hand we're chanting one player's name, on the other hand, we're saying the worst player to ever put on a Sheffield Wednesday shirt. That is what it's like. And I do think, from a big fan base, you are going to get that, because you will get, especially on social media as well. It doesn't take many people to say the same thing to it feel like it's everyone. Yep. So because there's that many fans, and you start seeing these opinions, you don't know if they're coming from the same person or not. You just think, Christ, that's not gone down very well. And then also as well, when it's immediately, when there's so many negative comments, it takes a lot of people. Someone might have a positive thing to say, but they look at me and go, I'm in the minority here. I'll not put that comment out there, because I'm just going to get absolutely shit on. And then, that's what you get.
Well, we've already mentioned his name once today. take a look at what it does to a player in Ike Ugbo this season. Look at how bereft that player was of all confidence and shot of all of that, like all of that fizz and magic that made him really good the previous season. Have a look at Ibrahim Sissoko, chewed up and spat out, and up to that point, don't get me wrong, he wasn't good for us. There's no skirting around the fact that he was not good enough for us. As brought in as somebody to help out on a wing in an area that we were really creatively threatening this year. Signed him from a relegated club. But he's a highly rated prospect, and there wasn't like if you want to buy him, you've got first refusal on him here. A player who, if you're looking at him on paper or an AI model, if you're looking at him on those, you should be going out and signing him because he's of the right profile. He fits the position. He fits the age. He's done it in the league before. He had 1, 2, 3 bad touches against Swansea and Coventry, respectively. He's fucking shit. Get rid of him. Every time he picks the ball up, you can hear moans and groans around the stadium. It is a hard fan base to please. Like, I'm very open about the fact of we are a hard fan base to please, but that goes double for an owner, especially when you're following this clown. When you're following this bloke, you better get everything right because Sheffield Wednesday fans are so on edge at this point in time and will find, as we've been saying for weeks, James, they'll find out anything about you. Absolutely anything.
Yeah, I mentioned Pelipesi earlier. Justin said Pelipesi was turd, though. Sorry. I do tend to agree. He was dog shit.
Sorry, James, I've just brought this one up here, which is from Alex Smith. There are a massive number of sleeper Wednesday fans out there. If we got a new owner and could get it right, we could be up there in the Premier League. And Alex, I could not agree with you more, living in a city that is having a club woken up from its slumber in terms of Birmingham City. Birmingham City average, normally when they're in the Championship, 15 to 17,000. You've got 15,000 fans on a waiting list for season tickets this coming season. It's been it's around here. It has just exploded in terms of all of a sudden, all of these closet blue noses have come out of the woodwork. The same would happen at Wednesday if the ownership model get it right.
Do you know what? Didn't we have that scenario where we beat Peterborough and then we beat Barnsley at Wembley?
With last-minute equalisers and winners.
Yeah, there was such a feel-good factor around the football club for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, fucking honestly.
I don't think I'm not saying we'd have had that sort of number of season ticket holders on a waiting list, but it could have been so different had he just anyway. Well, I don't know. Let's stop living in the past.
I know. But Sheffield Wednesday fans living in the past, never. No, I'm talking about.
He says wearing a fucking shirt.
I'm wearing a fucking retro shirt, and I've got a player behind me who signed 2 seasons ago. I'm looking at it from the perspective, James, of like. If I was just going to touch on that season ticket of we're not going to have an explosion. How many people signed up for memberships? How many people bought fucking season tickets in that 2-week window just so they could guarantee a seat at Wembley?
Yeah,
there were genuinely hundreds who did that because it guaranteed them a seat. If you could even get that again and that type of feel-good factor and just ride that, it would snowball because that is what happens at this football club. We saw that when Chansiri's first season, when we were on the cusp of the playoffs, we weren't very good for the first half of the year. And then all of a sudden that snowball effect and it just rolls and it took us all the way to what Mohamed Diame won the goal from playing in the Premier League.
Yeah, I started this one earlier because it's almost like he's seen our notes. But Stannington says, I heard Chansiri wants to retain 10%. Any truth in that? I'm guessing this has come from this article because he did say in there that if he sells the club, he would also look to retain some sort of share in that club, whether it's 10% or not. I've no idea. But could you see that happening, Matt? Because for me, I think it is a distinct possibility that he would still want to be around here. And for me, like I don't know for what reason, because if he hasn't got any money now, I mean, I suppose you could argue if he sells the club, he has then got some money, but like I don't want that to happen. I don't want him to have any share in the club. And if he does have that share in the club, you can also look and think, is he going to keep the stadium as well in that case? Do you know what I mean? Is he just going to keep taking that 2.5 million or whatever is he then going to start actually wanting that money, if you know what I mean? Because at the moment, it's just numbers moving around and I don't think the money actually changes hands. But now he might be like, yeah, I do want that money for the rent every year. It might mean that if he wants to keep a stake in the club, he doesn't actually sell the stadium either. I don't know.
Remove the emotion and remove Chansiri's kind of like the emotional stuff that's tied up with it. This is the way that most modern football clubs are sold. Is the current owner keeps a stake in it. If you look at, I've just mentioned them 5 minutes ago, Birmingham City, their previous owner, yes, has gone, but there are a number of people who retain a stake in Birmingham City. It's just the controlling or majority stake that is the matter. Because even if a new owner were to come in here and they, I don't know, decide that they want to rip down Hillsborough and build a fancy new stadium and Chansiri doesn't accept it, who gives a shit? You only own 10% of this football club, shut up. Like it doesn't make any difference because it's not the controlling or the majority stake and you're not the one who's in charge of making decisions here. If it was, say, for argument's sake, this like a full buyout now, I suppose what I'm saying, aside from Reading, is really, really rare at this point in time. Like full buyouts of football clubs are rare. You look at Man United, I know Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the public figure of it, but he's not the controlling majority stake. It's the Glazers. They've just let him run it and it's his shop to run. Arsenal have done similar. Liverpool have done very similar. Chelsea, I know, slightly different model. They're a consortium model where there are lots of people who have put money in. 10% of the club is the most that anybody should be giving up to him, to be perfectly honest. Any more than that, I'd feel uneasy. And for him, it makes sense in cutting your losses and still having a steady stream of income, because this football club will always provide you with a steady stream of income, as we learned from James and the Wednesday night discussion and the Trust Fans Forum reaction, which I know we're coming on to discuss. We have invested more, including obviously the other revenue streams that come in through TV and blah, blah, blah. We have actually invested more into this football club than the owner himself. Yeah. So it does make a lot of sense to keep 10% of it. And personally, if that was one sticking point that was included in some of those negotiations, or rather non-negotiations that have gone on, I would feel comfortable in 10%. Anything more than that, I think if it was like 40%, if he does get a windfall and a huge strike of this, he can make an offer that perhaps you can't refuse, type of thing. I think it's common sense if you're looking at getting a deal done. Any more than 10%, I'd feel uneasy.
Yeah, George has said that 10% is the only way he makes more money, as long as he's a silent investor. Yeah. There was another comment here from Big Artie Shaw. He's like an ex who wants to keep the kettle.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, just hopefully you don't take the toaster and the fridge, freezer and everything else. We might not even have those anyway by the time it comes to selling it. So yeah.
Sorry, James, I've just seen this one as well from Jay Morris. Are there any whispers of Chansiri addressing anything at any point? I wouldn't hold your breath, mate. I'll be completely honest. I really, really wouldn't, aside from a really poorly worded statement of "I'm sorry, it's my fault."
Yeah. Exactly.
There we go.
Let's move on then. Quickly, Matt. This anonymous mediator has also said that Dejphon Chansiri wants offers of over 100 million. And he says a kind of fair market value is kind of what everyone else has said, really, between 40 and 50 million pounds. He's never going to get bids of that value, is he? I know the Florida Consortium have come in and that was rumoured to be around about that figure. But obviously there was a lot of kickers, as they called them, a lot of incentives. Get to the Premier League, we'll give you X amount of money. Stay in the Premier League, we'll give you a bit more, and all that sort of stuff, which obviously he doesn't want. He wants the money up front. Nobody in the right mind is going to pay slightly less than the club down the road for Sheffield Wednesday in its current state, because other than the fans, we've mentioned this many a time.
Yeah.
Like, other than the fans, there is nothing really that you're selling. You're just selling a bit of potential, which is not worth 100 million.
Yeah, I know we're trying to move it on, James, so I will try and be quick on this, but it was based off an article that Matt H had sent to me on X surrounding kind of long-term investment in football and clubs and tailwind investment and stuff. You have to, at this point, accept less than 100 million with the idea of keeping a stake in the football club, because he's out of money. He has been since 2018. The football regulator's on the horizon. He's going to have to sell within the next 12 months unless he wants to be booted out of his own shop. On the 100 million valuation, is it worth it? In my opinion, no, you are out of your mind. And I think you would agree in that terms, James. And I think a lot of people would agree, definitely 100 million is excessive. 160 million is fucking stupid and laughable. But there is a school of thought that aligns with the thinking of something called long-term tailwind investments, without getting too financy, because again, it isn't a speciality of mine, and I'm trying to learn all of this as we're going on the fly and bits and pieces. But a long-term investment, like a football club, is, as long as you treat it right, it will continue to generate revenue for the next 5, 10, 15 years' time. Like Chansiri has treated this appallingly in the last 10 years, and it is generating a massive amount of revenue, just not enough for him to be able to run the football club effectively because of his own stupid decisions. This is specifically aligned to sports because the sports market, in terms of, say, for argument's sake, television, is one of the very few that isn't in decline. So the only facts and figures surrounding this are on the NFL and the NBA investment, but there will be case studies on stuff further down the line in terms of Wrexham and Birmingham City if and when they reach the Premier League. There are top flight examples of Liverpool, PSG, who have done this, but again, you're working with obscene amounts of numbers and figures there. This is all based on streams of income that will never die. Why? Because people don't just go and support another club. Family members, it's bred into you. So a slight tangent from this. When you're talking about those revenue streams from TV, the NBA has cut a lot of cords this year with cable TV subscriptions and now offers its own streaming service. That market, from a money standpoint, is absolutely unrivaled in terms of customer loyalty, because now if you are a fan of an NBA franchise, you can now watch all of their games exclusively. You don't have to, like we do currently. Yes, we get a lot of games through Sky, but you have to tune into them.
Yeah, you have to get all the other games as well.
Yeah,
and you have to get all the rugby, and you have to get all the cricket and the Formula One that you might not actually be asked about, just to get the few games that come onto Sky.
Just to get 27 games of Sheffield Wednesday a season. You're paying £100 a month in some cases.
You've got to watch those blokes hit a white ball into a hole.
Yeah. Less of that while the US Open's going on at Oakmont. But that market is unrivaled in terms of customer loyalty. And you couple this with other commercial revenue streams, which every single investor has said, we have not even touched or even scratched the surface of this at Sheffield Wednesday. And you're onto a winner almost regardless of the on-field success with a club like Sheffield Wednesday. So I know we did used to, and we probably still do somewhere, have a dedicated Sheffield Wednesday app. Now imagine that is a streaming service that covers Wednesday 24/7, 365 days a year. Talk shows, highlight packages, player interviews, documentary style season stuff, the welcome to Wrexham stuff that you see like week on week on week, and this is churned out. If you're just talking about that online content and you drop it into a specified platform just for yourself, and you also take in revenue advertisements, all of that for the price of £10, 20, 40,000 customers overnight. Brian will make a fortune.
Yeah, I've got to bring this comment up. It's clearly not from the man himself. It's from the Parody X account. It's Dejphon Chansiri. He says his shirt is from DC Gate.
He's sadly not. That one
I've seen a few of those popping around. And you know what as well? It's great that people can get these shirts for a lot cheaper and things like that. But it's one of those where now, I know it's taking the piss.
Yeah.
But it's so like you're gonna, if you wear that shirt out. I know you don't really tend to wear football shirts at the matches and stuff, but someone's gonna go £15 on DHgate that.
I know, and
I'm gonna think, this is the pièce de résistance. This is the one. Like,
this is the original eBay 2017 for Park Life when everybody wear football shirts, and I didn't realise how much it was worth, and it got covered in beer.
This is the one that's got all the fluff on the fucking Sanderson bit because it's actually real.
Little faded, I'll be honest, but yeah, it's all right. It's in good nick.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like anything. People buy, like women buy handbags and stuff, and they go, "It's from Turkey." That one, I've seen them in Turkey. Then,
and ultimately, who gives a shit? And I would actually next year, I'm thinking about buying DHgate shirts just because Chansiri's told me not to.
Exactly. Right, let's move on to the Trust Fans Forum on Wednesday. We live streamed it. That wasn't stressful at all. When it was like on the hottest day of the year so far, and I know it wasn't outside, but it might as well have been fucking sweating my absolute bollocks off. If anyone was there, you'd have probably seen me in a different t-shirt when I started. To if you did get a little bit earlier, but no, obviously it went from a stream perspective up until the end, where the internet just just managed to shit itself. But anyway, we were all good. It was, a lot of people watched it. I was pleasantly surprised how many people actually turned up. I think there was 400 tickets. It looked like there were pretty much 400 people in there as well. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that came out from it. I mean, I think overall, I think it was a success. It was kind of put together fairly hastily. I don't think they'll mind me saying that. It was kind of like all of a sudden, wait a minute, yeah, we're doing this in kind of 2 weeks' time. It's like, oh shit, like that. Let's get it sorted. But I think, a lot of people came together. I think the fact that a lot of people could watch it that weren't there also kind of sent that message far and wide. And I think yeah, it was for me. But personally, I feel like these perhaps should have been done maybe 6 months ago, like before before all the protests started, just to kind of see how many people were actually interested before you then start. I mean, the protests were very well backed anyway, but still, it didn't. It happened last week, and I think overall, I think it went quite well, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you believe the purpose of it was, I suppose. If it was about continuing to unravel the kind of like web of nonsense and lies spouted by the chairman and keep up public pressure on him, yeah, I agree with you, James, 100% successful. If you're of the opinion that it was 300 blokes sat in Sheffield's version of the Phoenix Club, I suggest you've probably missed the point, and just want to shout at people actually trying to do something, because, again, I know a number of people have said this, but again, I would like to just say this myself. It's very easy to just sit and criticise. Then it actually is getting up and doing something like people have and taking a stand. I would just suggest that, because there was a lot of negativity surrounding certain sections of the fan base, don't knock others for trying to do something. Like, if you've got nothing to say positive on it, just don't involve yourself in the discussion, perhaps, maybe.
Like, unless it's going to have a negative impact, if you feel like it's just not going to have any impact at all, then why does it matter? Like, if that's your opinion, nothing's going to happen anyway. Like, if you're right, if you're actually right and nothing, like, but for me, I feel like as many people talking about it is better than nobody talking about it, because you don't know who's going to pick up on it. Yeah. Henry Winter hasn't picked up on this because everyone was silent. Like, he's not picked up on it because everyone's, just one man told him, like, down the pub. Oh, by the way, Wednesday in a bit of a crisis. Oh, I'll have a look at that. Like, he's probably picked up on it because, I don't know, people have tagged him in things. He's seen it pop up on socials. Yep. Someone's retweeted it. I don't know. He might have watched a YouTube video, a BBC News article. He might have even seen something on the Star. Like, I've no idea how he's picked up on it. And I think that's always the problem as well. You can't tell unless that person specifically tells you where they've seen it. It's hard to know where someone's picked up on it. Like, it could be a multitude of different things. So therefore, you just have to do as much as you can. Like, and I feel like that's what people are trying to do. The Trust are trying to do that. And I just think people have just got to get on board. Like, there's going to be some people that are annoyed, and it might, whatever the outcome may be, whoever the next owners might be, is this Florida consortium, the best owners of a football club in the world? Probably not. They're not going to be, actually. I'll just say it right now. They're not going to be. Like, I don't know what the best owners in the world are, but it's probably not going to be them. But they could be a damn sight better than what we've currently got now. And surely that is better. I don't want to be talking about there being missed wage payments. That should never, ever enter. I don't want to talk about it ever again. I could be talking about it in 2 weeks, but I do, with new owners, I don't want to say anything about it. Yeah, I know. But Joey, I don't want to talk about that. So let's just keep talking about it. And I think this, it was a great event put on. There's a lot of people that turned up. I thought, some of the stuff that came out of it. Again, agree with it if you want, disagree with it if you want. Like, nobody's there. I don't think it was rammed down anyone's throat. Nobody's saying that you should say this. I think it's just putting information out there that might help sway you. And I found as well that people that are massively against something, it doesn't matter how many times you tell them, they will be massively against it. It's those people in the middle. Obviously, the people at the other end that are massively for it, you'll tell them anything and they'll just believe it, and they'll just take it and run with it. It's those people in the middle, and they're the hardest people to win over, because you don't know where they are, because they're not commenting on social media. You can't have conversations with them. you don't know where they are, you don't know where they're lurking. They could be anywhere. They could be watching this video right now. They could be listening on audio. That but they're the people that you have to try and win over, and you only do that with kind of clear and direct messaging. And I think one thing that a lot of people have took on is that financial stuff that James did. Obviously, we spoke to him on Thursday last week. If people haven't listened to that one, but he was trying to kind of dispel some of the myths, weren't he? That Chansiri had said, things like, your money doesn't mean anything and stuff like that. And it was, it was. I think it was quite straight to the point as well, as much as financial stuff is a little bit boring. But it was, I think it sent out a fairly clear message.
100%. And also, I was amazed of two things, really. Firstly, let's get the funny one out of the way. The audience participation bit of booing every time Chansiri came up. As a drama teacher, I was thrilled. Audience engagement is so hard to do. Really well done, mate.
It actually went quite well. I thought, oh God, this could go horribly wrong. Actually,
very pantomime season, wasn't it? The second one was the fact of actually what he said was, I don't do this for a living, and this is something that I've kind of had to learn as I'm going. And that I thought was the most impressive thing, because
he's a lecturer at Leeds University. If you wanted to know,
it's genuinely, it was really, really impressive. I just thought it was so interesting, that conversation that you had, and then the more in-depth one that you had with him on Wednesday. The input from fans, sponsors, commercial revenue, outstripping his own investment, I thought was the most top-tier thing. For so long, we've been hoodwinked to believe the lie, you can't survive without me. And actually, sorry, mate, it's just simply not true. The real fact is, if we all fuck off, you can't survive. So, seeing as we've been able to invest and you can't, why don't you just move aside before it turns into Blackpool or Reading style situation, as it's going that way at the moment?
Yeah, I think I just want to point out as well, and I think, James, when he came on Thursday, was wanted to point this out as well, that, like, yes, there is, the club is losing money, and we're not self-sufficient. So and quite a lot of other people were quick to point out it's not just wages, there are other bills and stuff like that. And yeah, I get that, but the point was, that our money doesn't mean anything, but actually it does, because that, along with the Sky money and the commercial, and I think it was just Sky money and season ticket sales and gate receipts, is more than what the wages are. Certainly up until 23-24 season, I think it was. So so what he was doing there is just dispelling the myth that the money doesn't mean anything. That money covers that. Again, people quick to pick up on the fact that that's not how it happens. It's not, that money's not ring fenced to just pay for that. That money is more than one of the outgoings. So it does count for at least something, which is there was others as well.
And as you say, James, it's not necessarily because, you've just pointed out there, James, far better than I could have done, that idea of, like, when money comes in at different points in time and it's never going to just be able to cover it. But I think it was the point of, we have been consistently told by this chairman, if I walk away, you're fucked. If you want to save this club, go out and save it. If you want to pay this tax bill, you need to go out and do it, because you don't do anything for me. Bollocks.
Yeah.
And it's there in black and white. It's there in black and white.
The other one that he always comes out with, there's lots of wealthy business owners, but I don't know them. As in, like, there must be people out in Sheffield or that support Sheffield Wednesday that have got a bit of money, but they don't come forward to do anything. Probably because you're an absolute raving lunatic, mate. Like, that's probably why, and they don't want to do any business with you, because what are you going to do with it? Like, you don't show a plan, and you don't, where's the money going to go to, other than just get pissed up the wall? Like, but I won't do any business with them either, to be fair.
Sorry, James, and also found one of them. What's your next one? Genuinely found one of them, made you offers, you're not happy.
Yeah, but he didn't pay the sponsorship last time, so I hate him. One person that did stand up and gave a speech which went down very well was Chris Turner. I mean, first of all, I know some of his opinions can be, let's say, different on certain matters, but thankfully he left politics out of this one, and he was just talking as a fan, which he did point out at the, when he did start talking. I thought it was quite powerful. I think quite a lot of people picked up on that. I thought it resonated with a lot of the fans as well, and I think he's right, with what he said. The man is bringing the club down, and it just needs to stop. I mean, it could run for Prime Minister, I think, Chris Turner, and I'd probably put a vote in for him.
Yeah,
if he kept his political views out, which I think, when I've said running for Prime Minister, that's political. So maybe not Prime Minister, but you get the point.
I think you've made a really valid point there, James, is because Chris is obviously from a very different era, and as a result, perhaps his political, perhaps social, societal issues will be very different to how many other people will perceive the world in 2025. Just because they're different or you don't agree with him on those issues, it doesn't mean that you can't find common ground with the person on this particular matter. As you rightly said, James, he spoke so passionately from the heart, and I'm sorry, I do not see many other people who've held his position of responsibility coming out with statements of support. You had better believe the minute this chairman has gone, watch how many ex-players, managers who are either still in the game or out of the game now all come out the woodwork. I feel sorry for Joe Cran and Alex Miller. You'll have a line around the block desperate to tell you a story. I would hope that would be on this platform as well. I have a lot of time for people who stand up first and take the bullets, so to speak, rather than waiting for the tide to turn and then join in with the swimming.
Yeah, it's true. Like waiting. It's like the. Well, I suppose it's even worse than this. When he's on the ropes and someone just jumps in the ring to get a slap in, kind of thing.
Yep.
Because they see him going down, and I don't know if we've kind of got to that point yet or not. But yeah, people do need to stand up and just take the shit, because you know what, when he's gone, whatever it is whatever it is you're going to lose, you're going to just gain straight away back, and also gain the backing from the fans as well. Like I said, he's not going to be here for that much longer. I hope. Nope. I really hope he isn't going to be here for that much longer. But yeah, I thought it was, it came across really well. It was well received in the room. I think it was well received both online as well. People after. And I think it's what he needed as well. I think the event kind of needed that. It needed a bit of audience participation and stuff, and get people talking. John Newsom did something similar, although he came at it at a bit of a different angle. He didn't do the kind of rallying cry, but he also cited again that Dejphon Chansiri is a very difficult person to deal with. Obviously, coming at it from his agent style or stance, should I say? Yeah. And he, saying that again, he kind of avoids using Sheffield Wednesday. He mentioned about the contracts being, in his words, seemingly written by non-footballing people. Lots of different things in there that just make him really confusing. And so he said it's almost like he's just had an idea, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll put that in the contract as well." Mm-hmm. It's like no surprise that people don't, we don't sell any players, because of how if all these things are happening. And I don't know who John Newsom represents. I don't know what kind of players he was trying to offer up to us or get into the football club. But how many other agents have the same thought that, like, I can't deal with him, I'd rather go somewhere else. How many times have we seen players being linked with Sheffield Wednesday and then they end up somewhere else? Who was that lad the lad that went to Charlton? That was from West Ham. He went to, I can't remember his name, but that was one that was like almost nailed on to be
Coventry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how good he is or anything. He might have dodged a bullet there, but he was not nailed on to come to Wednesday. Probably had the same sort of problems. But we could have perhaps missed out on so many players just for how much of an idiot he is.
Yep, I thought it was a great point. I thought it was a short and impactful speech. The gem that you were talking about, however, was the smoking gun, so to speak, with this, in terms of this is a person who has had first-hand experience of dealing with the club coming out and speaking up from an agent standpoint. We've heard through Nancy Frostick's articles, we've heard through, I think, Dom Howson of this parish, in spells, has also come out, but they've always been anonymous sources or an insider who's previously worked at the club or whatever has said, no, this is a man who is front and centre, played for the club, current agent. The more who do this, the better. And it is going to take bravery, but this is the next step in removing him. What more can this chairman do to you? He can't sign your players. Like, he can't sign them for the next 3 windows.
Yeah.
He can't. You will not be able to get your client a good deal. He's not paid people. He's sabotaged deals. He's publicly slated many. come on, start opening your mouths. There's always an open invite here to talk. I know there is a code of silence within football where footballers will often go, I can't do that because of this, or it might burn this bridge. They're in a bridge to burn here. Bridge is already on the way down. You might as well jump on.
Yeah, and I suppose he does a bit of work for Radio Sheffield, doesn't he? So maybe he might get banned next time he tries to walk in to do a bit of co-coms. So maybe we're not going to see him. Maybe he might just be the away games for the co-coms duties.
Better days anyway.
Yeah, exactly. He might just stick to doing the co-coms for Leeds in BBC West Yorkshire, whatever it is up there. Something else that came from it. I know Simon spoke quite a lot, but he's spoken quite a bit on here anyway. Yeah. So, but the other thing from the trust was this kind of manifesto, if you want to call it that. 8 key points that they'd put out. I mean, I must admit they didn't talk much about it on there. I thought there was going to. I think it was going on a little bit, the event, so they wanted to kind of move it on a bit. And I thought they'd have moved on. I thought they'd have talked about this at length, to be fair, but they didn't. But it's all out there on the internet, so you can go and have a look at it yourself. Just go to the trust and you can find it. But I'll just kind of quickly run through the 8 points that they had, and we'll just talk about it briefly. It said, and it's nothing. Don't be prepared. Can't get my words out. Don't be prepared to get knocked off your stool or your chair, whatever you're sitting on right now, because it's not exactly groundbreaking. But it just shows you where we are, because quite a lot of people might think that it is groundbreaking. It just says a successful club with a clear vision for the future, a club where everyone feels welcome, a club that engages meaningfully with fans, a club that has a distinct identity that reflects our rich heritage, a club that is well led by knowledgeable people, an ownership that is a sustainable business model generating the money to meet the club's strategy, a club that works properly with local businesses, and finally, a well-utilised stadium that we can be proud of. Like I said, it's not really groundbreaking, and you'd like to think that any club would try and adhere to all of those 8, but as I mentioned before, it just shows you where we are. We don't really meet all of those at the moment, do we? And I think it's good to have this thing, and whoever the new owners are, whenever that may be, I hope that there can be that relationship between the trust and the new owners to kind of say, look, we're going to try and hold you accountable to these points that we've set out.
Yeah, we've been saying it for months, James, and I know it sounds like a broken record, but it's true. Just that even a half decent run club, and we'll think you're outrageously good for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We're not asking you to splash 30 million on a player. We're asking you to have 13 million a year to be able to invest if needed. How you come up with that 13 million pounds, if it's through player trading, sales, your investment group, either way, it doesn't really matter. The fan engagement, everything that you've just spoke about there, the way it's outlined by the trust is really, really simple for all to see. It's just normality. Like, I'm not meaning to be horrible here, and the trust were really opening. I think it was Ian who said right at the top of it, if it's not groundbreaking or anything like that, it doesn't have to be. It really, really does not have to be. It's just common sense. It's the way that everybody knows football clubs at this level should be run. Go and have a read of it if you haven't done so already. I would imagine most people listening to this or watching this live will have done so. But if you haven't done, please give yourself on a lunch break. You can flip through it on a break at any point. You can flick through it whilst you're in the car waiting to pick your kids up. Be sat still. Don't do it whilst you're driving. Very dangerous.
It's not 75 pages long either, so you'll be able to read this one.
No, but it is also a lot of the points that are there are things that have been spoken about widely within the fan base before. I read it through and was just like, how can anybody read this and go, yeah, this makes an awful lot of sense. How could somebody read it and go, yeah, no, I don't agree with that? Like what? What don't you agree with? Like, you can argue semantics over things, but big picture here, this is a group of fans who have put this together. It's not rocket science, is it? It's really not.
I mean, one of them, the last one, a well-utilised stadium that we can be proud of. Just another thing, you see it all the time now. I mean, my sister went to, I presume she was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to watch Beyonce this weekend.
Yeah.
That was at the stadium. I think there's an event on at Wembley for Capital FM, I think it is, or whatever, something down there this weekend. We saw a few weeks back down at the pigsty. They had an event, some music event on the pitch as well. All these events that happen in stadiums, because guess what? They've got all the seats already. They've got all the stuff purpose built. They just have put the stand, the stage on the pitch and stuff. All right, I know that can only happen in the summer months and stuff, but that's like something that we just don't really tap into. I don't know how lucrative it is. I don't know how much money you're going to get from doing something like that, but it's certainly more money than what you'd get by not doing it anyway.
Correct.
That's just one thing that we don't. There's talk of the boxer, coming down
Dalton Smith.
Dalton Smith coming down and having a world title fight at Hillsborough. I'd be astounded if that actually happened. Not because someone's trying, just because the idiot at the top will probably ask for some fucking ridiculous amount of money that's just totally not kind of in line with what's paid, like what people pay for it.
James, I would pay to see money because it's Eddie Hearn who promotes Dalton Smith. I would pay to see money to be sat in that room when he quotes a figure at Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn doesn't
160 million. He goes, "Can I stop you there, Dejphon? I'm not here to buy the fucking club. I just want to have a boxing match on your pitch, mate." Like,
oh man, I would do it outside if you want. There's Hillsborough Park over the road. It'll probably cost us less.
Yeah,
it's just genuinely. I know we are a long way away from kind of like sales, and it could happen in the next 2 weeks. It could happen in the next year, but it is just dregs of his ownership now, isn't it? And it is just how long he's going to cling on for. Because nicest will in the world, and again, it's not groundbreaking news, James. He's not going to change. His ownership model isn't automatically overnight. He's not going to have had a revelation because he's had this situation before and he's just ploughed on exactly the same. There will come a point, though, in the next 12 months, 18 months, where he does realise either I have to sell this or the club gets yanked from him. And that won't be through the EFL. It will be the football regulator.
Yeah. Something else happened as well, by the way. The transfer window opened. And it shut.
It's busy, wasn't it? Busy.
I nearly got the yellow tie out as well.
I mean, me and you can't even do deadline day specials this time round because what are we going to talk about? Every other club.
Well, to be fair though, there is a little bit of positivity, which comes out of negativity in that we're in this transfer fee ban. In that, I don't know if you saw that Joe Cran said that. There was if the three players that had been offered contracts, if they signed, I think we could only sign another one or two people, because then it was something of professional standing, I think they called it. They've changed the word in the EFL, so that means now that the likes of McNeil, I think there was a couple of other players as well. They've got to have played 3 games, 3 league games, I think that is as well, in order to be called a professional player in either the league that you're in or the league above. So in our case, it would be the Championship or the Premier League. And there's a few players that don't meet that criteria that previously did, because they'd played a game in a cup game which had allowed them to be eligible. So I think we can sign if the 3 sign. If Bannon, Famewo, and Patterson sign, then we can sign another 6. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, they've got to be free. They've got to be or alone with no
hope
fee.
You don't want your wages.
Yeah, they've got to be volunteers.
They've got to be volunteers. You've got to be available Tuesdays, Saturdays, Sundays, maybe some Fridays.
Yeah, you can't take any holidays, or if you do, you've got to come back early. You've got to be willing to not be sold, so only sign a 1-year deal, but they'll try and tie you down to 3. But we'll not know how long the deal is anyway, so we can't talk about it. You've got a nice pitch to play on, though, although it does resemble Brighton Beach at the moment. Although I've not seen any new pictures, actually. It might be fully green now. We might have got grass on the pitch this time.
Yeah, that's if we've paid the construction team and all the rest of it, and if we've also paid for Macron for kits and blah blah.
What? You'll have seen the TikToks or the Instagram videos where the builders go around to the house that's not paid.
They just
fucking not. They've done the driveway and they just take a bulldozer to it and just rip the whole driveway up. How funny would it be if we regret to inform that we can't start the season, we can't play the home games as
we're going to be playing our home games at Hallam from now on.
Because they've come and just fucking ripped the whole pitch up because we've not paid them. Do you know what? We're laughing. Like, again, you have to laugh because you'll cry, and I hope that people watching are taking a little bit of just humour from the whole situation, because and to be serious as well, I've seen comments from people saying I've had to turn things. I've had to turn my phone off. I've had to delete Twitter. I've had to do all these things to kind of remove myself from it. I mean, by virtue of listening to this, I'm guessing that's not yourself because you wouldn't be listening to us. But seriously, like if you get to that stage, no shame whatsoever. Absolutely zero shame. It is grim talking about these, negative thing after negative thing. We're trying to put a bit of a spin on it if we can, but spoiler alert. I mean, we're at the end now, so you've already listened to it. There's no positivity coming out of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club whatsoever. Hopefully tomorrow when you speak to Shay, not Shay Charles, but Shay's Triathlon, that might give us a little bit of positivity, because obviously he's done some fantastic work, hasn't he, with the fundraising.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something that I was, again, as I say, the reason why it was postponed last week was a family situation that went off here with my wife's family. But it is something that I have been really keen to do for a little while now. And I would also like to say this, obviously, because I'll get the opportunity to speak to him tomorrow. I would hope people tune in and obviously listen to the story that Shay's got to tell, and some of the wonderful things about kind of like, his experiences with kind of what he's, like what he's gone through in terms of this monumental fundraising effort, and the like links that he's developed and the friendships that he's developed with some of these people. There is really good people attached to this football club. Really, really good people. And those are the things that we should be talking about, James. Those are the things that we should be talking about every single week, and we should be able to highlight those. And actually, it shouldn't be down to us. It should be the football club. The football club should be doing absolutely everything that they can to promote this. And I have absolutely 100% faith and confidence in the next statement that I'm going to say. The next ownership, I would imagine, will do things that support this, that support the armed forces, that support the women's supporters group, that support the Rainbow Owls, that support all of those supporters organisations that are out there and promote all of the good work that they do.
And you know what? And also as well, don't kind of... I'm just saying this from my own opinion.
Yeah.
Don't kind of, I don't want to use the word force, but don't make them be on the engagement panel to also be open to those privileges and things that they get. Those two things should be totally separate. They should be allowed to be on the engagement panel or not, but also, or should I say, feel like they can be on the engagement panel and also get all the other things that they get from the football club to enable them to do the great stuff that they do day in, day out, week in, week out, every match day, and things like that. Like that shouldn't be going through the same channels. But anyway, right, we're gonna wrap things up. Actually, let's read a few comments out before I do that. So James has said, "Can we sign Tevez on a free? He's scored 4 in Soccer Aid." Just for Tevez in a Wednesday shirt with everything that happened with West Ham and those down the road would be great.
I'd have loved it.
I think he's a bit past it, to be fair.
Nah, just a year rolling deal. We give it anyone.
Yeah, Big Artie Shaw said gallows humour is the only thing that gets me through this. Jay Morris says Hallam is better run. Justin says, can we just take a moment to thank Dejphon for doing his best? Justin, no, is the honest answer to that one. And Tafster says Cyril Dessers, 6.5 million. He would score 25 goals plus. I'm sure he would. 6.5 million is the sticking point. I would
slight sticking point, and he's going to want paying.
Owlsman says DC will charge 50 quid pay-per-view on Sky for Dalton Smith fight. Yeah, you're probably right. And tickets will be £400 just to sit on the north with no running water. He'll have, do you know what? He'll have the stage up. It's a boxing match in it, so it's in the middle. I was going to say, he'll have a concert. He'll have the stage in front of the West Stand and sell fucking tickets in the West Stand just so you see the back of the stage, knowing him. Anyway, right, let's wrap things up. We are going to be talking about Mr. Barry Bannon on Extra Time. Whether we could be sat here in a few weeks, months, looking at a Sheffield Wednesday side that doesn't have Barry Bannon in it. He hasn't signed his new contract. I don't blame him, to be fair. Nope. But yeah, as we stand at the moment, we're not going to have Barry Bannon next season. So we're going to be talking about that. And also there was a question, if the season started tomorrow, my God, we would be in a load of shit. But if it did start tomorrow, what would our starting 11 be? Have we even got more than 11 players? I think it probably picks itself, doesn't it, to be fair? But we are going to be talking about that as well. So if you want to listen to that or watch that, patreon.com/WTID pod. Go over there. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to sign up, and we'll be live at 1:45, and you can listen to that one. But no, thank you very much. So many people watching as well this evening. If you're first time listening, I hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll see you all. Hopefully on extra time. See you guys.